Mark, you want to kick us off?
Sure. We are here, lucky enough to be in this wonderful home by John Lautner. It's labeled
The Jewell Sulkin House from 1948.
1948, and we're here in Echo Park, and we're on top of a hill with remarkable views, and it's a really lovely day to talk about this home.
This house, there's a really great New York Times article that was written about it. It's known as the Forgotten Lautner because the family that commissioned it ended up living here for decades, and it just it wasn't in any of the Lautner monographs, and there was a model. I remember reading that Frank Escher, who was in charge of the archive, thought that this was a model of an unbuilt house. And then when it came to market, one of the children knew enough to know that, like, hey, this is a John Lautner. We need to market this as a Lautner.
Yeah, this was designed and built before he even had an architectural license. So this is like really early on.
Yep.
What was the story with the roof?
Oh, wow. This house sits on this 2 double post structural system every 8 feet and then 16 feet. Mm-hmm. And the prefabricated triangular truss is what provides the lateral stability for this whole thing.
Yeah, because the structure, the way it is allows the walls to be free. So in some locations, the roof line, the interior meets all the way to the roof line, and then in other places it recedes. Like on this side, you can see it, there's a clear story window there, and then there's nothing on this side. So it's really playful with the roof.
Yep. And then the current owner, who's been a fantastic steward, she's owned the property for about 11 years, and she had the wisdom to hire Barbara Bestor, who's an architect of some renown in her own right. Barbara Bestor, FAIA, a fellow of the American Institute of Architects, and she did a really wonderful remodel, preserving the history and integrity of the home, but then adding new countertop finishes and bathroom tile and some contemporary interventions that are very in keeping with the original design.
Her interventions are great. I mean, she did it at Lautner's Silvertop as well, and so she does this. And remarkable work.
Now, as you're talking, I'm looking at these gutter details. I think this is a Barbara Bestor detail, where she carried these gutters out beyond the face of the architecture in a move that's very Neutra-esque.
And this is another one of those projects where the structure really helps define the spaces. So here you could see that it's, like you said, it's in those 8-foot increments, but on the inside it varies a little bit, and that helps define the organization of the way that the floor plan's laid out.
Yep. So one interesting thing that this current owner did is that she actually removed square footage, which is almost unheard of. You know, in our business, people are always, well, how many square feet is it? You know, that's all they care about. Take it out to the setbacks and extrude it up 35 feet and give me the most square footage possible. Here, this carport had actually been enclosed as a separate bedroom, and the current owner tore it all back down to the original. And it's so dramatic to see this point and the architecture of those columns. Can you imagine coming up to just a blank wall?
No.
I think that's part of how it became a forgotten Lautner.
And today we're in for a treat because of
the Peter Blake installation known as Blake House 4. So everything was removed from the house, and Peter and Steph installed his furniture and artwork from their gallery in Laguna and some of her bronze sculpture pieces, and have just transformed the house with this special installation.
Yeah, so you guys are in for a treat too. Should we take them inside? And
let's check it out.
Let's check it out.
So out here you really get the best of all 3 worlds, which I'm describing as the original Lautner, the Barbara Bestor intervention, and then the Peter Blake exhibition, for lack of a better word. And what Barbara did is she exposed all this original architecture. She kind of recreated or preserved this original fenestration. You see the original Cherokee red floor, which is the same Cherokee red that they used at Neutra's Jardinette, which we just left. And then you see Barbara's acid-etched, saw-cut beautiful hardscape and the board-formed concrete with the integral light fixtures, the planter, and the bench. And that wall is this sort of datum, this line that takes you all the way to the back 40 of this lot, where we see that beautiful piece by Gisela Colon.
I will say, I think it's really nice that a lot of this material on the exterior makes its way into the interior, again, blurring those lines between inside and outside. And as we go in, you'll see the increments of the structure at these 8-foot increments. And then here, right at the entry, it turns to 16. So it's playful in that way as well.
Living room, and I love the way the room is oriented around this fireplace. And there's this very, I want to call it distilled, and I'm sure others who are more knowledgeable will correct me, but you've got this really strong vertical element with the concrete block, which has been water blasted back down to its original finish. You've got the stucco, the white stucco of the chimney element, forming another vertical panel. And then you have this horizontal hearth, vertical, sort of whatever the back of a fireplace is called, coming out. And so it's a really beautiful geometric arrangement, in addition to the sunken fireplace itself that's an inch down and a black concrete up against the Cherokee red. I mean, to me, that's a really beautiful sculptural form.
Yeah, when you're looking at it, you could confuse it for art. It looks like it's composed that way. And then let's talk about this window up here that's so cool.
Yeah, you've got a couple of things. It's like this corner condition from floor to ceiling. It's a butt glazed condition, which everybody loves it when we say butt glazed, but 2 panes of glass butted against one another with a little silicone joint. And the same thing in the opposite corner. And then in between, you've got a hopper window that opens in and allows cross ventilation. So originally, when this house had no air conditioning, you could just open that hopper window and the air would flow from one side of the house to the other.
Yeah, and then if you're looking at the CMU wall, it wraps around and actually continues on this side. There's no reason that it really has to. I mean, we can, the other side's the kitchen, so we could take a look at as to maybe there's a utilitarian purpose, but really it turns into this wall here, this wood wall. So those 2 pieces coming together is just another compositional piece that's so pretty.
As we're looking at it, I'm seeing that as the lateral structural bracing that in both directions, both in this direction as these double columns would want to overturn in this direction, but then also the pairs would want to move in this direction. So this masonry element is anchoring this space and providing the function of lateral support for this lightweight structure.
I like it.
Okay, now we're in the kitchen, and you see the pairs of structural columns and the hardware at the base kind of protruding beyond the face of the cabinets. But this is a really wonderful example of old and new combined. They kept the original Cherokee red floor, and there's been some distressing over the years, some of the aggregates exposed. It sort of reminds me of Venetian, or when you're traveling in Italy and you see like the history of the plaster. That's what you see in this floor, is the history of the people who've lived in this home, because some of that distressing is exposed and has been allowed to remain. And then you've got these new cabinets which have been recreated. There's a Sub-Zero refrigerator hidden behind these doors.
I love this moment here. Like, if you were going to grab something from here, you would also need to interact with the structure to some degree, and then come around and open the cabinet on the other side. And so it's like you're constantly getting these glimpses of this structure throughout the house. I just think I love that sort of playfulness.
Then these countertops, I believe, are the material that they use in, high school laboratories. It's like a phenolic resin material that is really wonderful. It's similar to corian, but it's the opposite of a quartz product, which would have been absolutely wrong for this house.
Yeah, and if you're looking this way, Brian, you'll see that this is perfectly symmetrical. The faucet is right in the center of these bay windows here.
And then this is some of my favorite hardware. This is, I believe, Chicago plumbing fixtures. They've got a red and a blue gasket that can be removed and replaced to indicate hot and cold. And so this is like an original piece. It's sort of industrial with this kind of, it's not really a farmhouse sink, but the original porcelain sink. And then that wonderful stove, vintage stove, range in absolutely incredible condition.
Yeah. In here, what I really love about this particular space is a couple of things. It's got a little bit of Gregorian to it, in that this portion of the wall here can come out and divide these two spaces. So it really is one bedroom, but it's two bedrooms. Yeah. And so it's flexible enough to kind of go back and forth. And again, now that you're in here, I love that the roof is just allowing you to say, look at the sky here, on a cloudy day or when it's raining. It would probably be pretty remarkable to kind of see it all come down.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny to think about that bifold or trifold door, not unlike the Gregory Ain. Our realtor friends are going to give us a hard time because they're like, this isn't 3 bedrooms, and really it is. And it was by design so that, this was 1948. People were coming back from World War II. There was a housing shortage. A serviceman typically would marry his high school sweetheart, let's say, and then, all they needed was 1 bedroom. Then they'd have their first kid, and maybe they'd be living in this larger bedroom, and the child would be in that bedroom. Then they'd switch it out when the second child came along, and then they had 3 actual bedrooms. And the beauty of that kind of thinking is that you don't have to downsize. There's flexibility in the design that allows for the home to sort of expand and contract as the family size expands and contracts. And, now this is Peter Blake has set this up as an office and sitting area as though it were 1 bedroom. And so I love that flexibility by design.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this bedroom has access to the exterior here. So you're constantly, that's the thing about really incredible architecture is there's connection to the outdoors consistently throughout the house.
It's like you see everything in this space. You've got the pairs of structural columns. You've got it's not really a butterfly roof because it's a flat prefab truss, triangular truss. It's a flat roof, but this upswing of the roof looking out at the sky, that butt glazed corner condition in the clear story, the hopper window, the linear diffuser that provides central heat and cooling into this space, Barbara's gutter that extends beyond the face of the building, pointing to the ocean beyond, the draperies that are installed in a flush track. So all this stuff is thought out at the micro level. And it's the kind of thing, if architecture is a linear algebra equation in which all of these different variables are weighted, this has top ratings in each of those categories that sums up to this kind of goosebumps experience that we have when we visit.
I agree. I think he was mentioning earlier that spots are filling up fairly quickly, so I would sign up. You've got some time here to come and take a look at this remarkable home.
Thursday is the opening night, and then by appointment through the end of November, it sounds like.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter Blake.
And enjoy the experience.